Understanding the equity model approach to developing real estate begins with an understanding of how the conventional or debt model works. The debt model of real estate development starts with a developer who owns a piece of undeveloped land with entitlements, but does not necessarily have the required levels of capital to create the infrastructure and amenities the developer envisions. To accomplish this goal, the developer goes to an institutional lender like a bank for a construction loan. To qualify, the banker and developer set a projected budget and timetable, and the banker holds the land as collateral. Essentially, once the land is leveraged by the banker, the developer is on the clock to literally sell himself out of debt. The developer must also rely on the local banking sector to provide the necessary takeout financing to the eventual buyer of individual units in the development, with the bank's ability to lend to the borrower sometimes out of its own control and dictated by global events, meaning that the approval process is often at times at odds with the borrower's need for financial buses. The risks and stakes are high. The developer bears the risk of absorbing market fluctuations, entitlement issues, and other economic and environmental risks that frequently occur during development. This can be particularly true in tropical developing countries, where issues like weather, workforce development, and supply line challenges frequently influence forecasted development schedules. The developer must, of course, also expend resources on marketing in order to attract buyers, the hope being that the rapid pace of early development will convince buyers that the project must be healthy and successful. However, without a concerted, far-reaching, and strategic marketing effort, developers often underestimate the cost and time it takes to sell himself out of debt. The total of these risks oftentimes leads the developer to take sustainability shortcuts that will impact the buyer's long-term investment, at best, or worse, the fate of the entire development. The result of which is the all-too-common announcement that the development has gone belly up, and the owners have lost their investment. Insolvent and in default, the bank seizes its security, the land. What if there was another way to protect a development's most valuable asset, the land, while providing the receivables necessary for development? A model that allows the developer to take advantage of the collective capacity of its buyers and as a result have the comfort of knowing the development will be successful. All the while, the land remains unencumbered during the process of development and beyond. There is a way, and it's called the equity model, and here's how it works. The equity model begins the same way as the conventional model, with a piece of undeveloped land and a developer wanting to value add it with infrastructure and amenities. But the bankers are not invited to the party. Instead, the developer goes to a marketing company whose strategic and far-reaching proprietary and professional marketing and sales model puts the development in front of millions of viewers. This kind of penetration rapidly results in thousands of viewers expressing interest in learning more. These potential buyers are treated to a highly informative and immersive experience that includes a tour of the development. If it's a right fit for the buyer, the marketing concludes with a sale. Because the developer owns the land outright, and because there's no bank looming in the wings, the developer can also create payment terms that are customized to the buyer and not restricted to a difficult approval process. Allowing buyers to have a customized payment or installment plan reduces one of the main barriers to entry for buyers and facilitates what the developer needs, and that is high-volume business. Furthermore, it provides the engine of receivables for the developer, which will act in the same manner as that of construction loan would for the traditional model. In this instance, however, it is the developer's combined receivables of equity that replace a draw schedule of debt, receivables that for years to come can provide the budget to deliver the infrastructure, amenities, and profits for the developer, all without leveraged risk. In sum, it is the buyer's payments that fund the developer's budget, the collective capacity of which make the model extremely safe, sound, and successful. Let's look a little closer. Buyer number one knows that his payments alone don't deliver the development, but know that it contributes almost all of its early payments to the same marketing that will generate hundreds of new owners whose collective receivables will deliver the development. The developer, in turn, knows that well-planned deployment of funds toward development assures a happy ownership base, who in turn keep making payments, leading to strong monthly receivables. Unlike the conventional model, where the buyer and developer must constantly worry about the risk of losing the property, in the equity model, the land is always free and clear, the receivables always increasing, and the only risk is time. It then becomes a bell curve for both marketing and development. Continued reinvestments into marketing in the early stages continue to steadily build the monthly income, receivables, which become the cash flow of the business. As the reinvestment builds volume, the developer is then able to start redirecting cash flow towards development. As units are absorbed more rapidly through this reinvestment, the developer moves towards critical mass. At such times, more funds are then diverted to development and less to marketing until such time that the developer is sold out, and all funds are then used to bring the development to final completion. Finally, the developer is left with the balance and legacy of the receivables, which should continue for many years to come, which ultimately become his profit. The security of the equity model naturally comes with understandings that buyer and developer acknowledge from the beginning. 1. Deployment of receivables to marketing costs at the beginning are necessarily high, but because they are deployed strategically, result in rapid increase in sales. 2. The equity model takes longer, but because the land is free and clear, is safer. Cash flow takes time to create, and because many buyers opt for financing, those receivables take time to come in, which highlights this highest risk for the buyer, which is a potentially protracted development period. 3. Development starts at a slower pace in the early stages, but continues to increase to a place where the receivables generated are usually higher than what a traditional draw schedule would have allowed, all debt and mostly risk-free. The collective capacity, which is the combination of payments of buyers, the receivables, is the key to the success of the equity model. Therefore, the entire equity model lifespan can be graphically represented as follows. It starts with the developer and marketer agreeing upon a certain number of buyers, who, at a particular price point, will satisfy the developer's budget for a profitable development. This is called critical mass, the quantum of ownership that the developers know will deliver the funding of the entire project. They also agree on what amount and length of time payment plans can be offered to assure the early cost of marketing and cost of development are covered over a reasonable period of time. Developer and marketer both understand that time is of the essence, so the intense marketing strategy is launched to aggressively drive potential buyers to the development, who will create a flow of receivables that in the early term funds marketing and land entitlement, followed shortly thereafter by infrastructure and amenities. As the model closes in on critical mass, the development budget has become sufficient to create strides in delivering an entitled development, with primary infrastructure such as roads, power, and water, even some Phase 1 amenities. The more aggressive the ownership ranks and receivables build, leading to the phase of development where the developer knows that over time he has all the funds necessary to deliver the development, as represented, on schedule. In sum, the true security of this model arises from the fact that the developer knows he has sustainability of receivables to absorb shocks, and the value of the land is always intact. This is a resilience the developer can count on, and can thereby pass on that same resilience or safety to its buyers. This is in stark contrast to the traditional debt model, where the cash comes first and the developer is then tied to a predetermined volume of sales it needs to satisfy that debt and ultimately survive. The equity model is a reversal of the traditional model, and risk is mitigated. Under the traditional model, the bank takes the risk and makes a high level of profit. Under the equity model, those profits are retained by the developer and in many ways passed on to the buyer and add increasing security and financial strength to the developer. This becomes an unparalleled strength for the developer, and the stronger it becomes financially, the less risk there is for the buyer. In the end, the developer and owners can sleep at night knowing that the budget, as well as free and unencumbered land, are secure during the entire project lifespan and are actually getting more valuable every day. The equity model is a true symbiotic relationship between developer and buyer, resulting in a business environment that is a win-win. The equity model: safe, resilient, sustainable.